podcast 2. We're going to introduce the syllabus and tell you how the class is going to run. This is the site for the book. There's a link on the syllabus. I'll show you in a second on how to get to this book. It's an online ebook only. Sorry that it's $89. You get to use it for Principles 2. Also, you definitely need the book. I'm going to give you assignments that are in the book, and it's going to be really hard for you to do the reading and do these assignments without buying the book. So sorry about that, but you got to buy the book. Okay, let's see here. How do I get to... Okay, so this is the syllabus, and if we go to the Brightspace, which is just brightspace.uakron.edu, because you're signed up for this class, you'll see this in your Brightspace, where it'll say Principles of Biology 1, 401, and any other classes that you're signed up for this summer session. Just click on that, and there will be things to click on here for the syllabus and for podcasts, and that will get more populated as the course goes. You can also go to under course materials and content, and you will see all the stuff you need for the syllabus and for the podcast. Under the syllabus, click on there for the syllabus. Under podcasts, you'll click and there'll be a link for you to see all the podcasts, and they'll be listed in order 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Okay. So now if we go back and look, and also I want to mention for assignments that you're going to do, the group work assignments, that will be under assignments, and you already have one that is due on the first Friday of the week. I'm going to click this through so that you can see it. Now you can see it, and then this is my view. It tells me how many people have turned it in. Nobody's turned it in yet. And you're going to submit this in a folder that will, you're going to turn it in as a PDF file, submit it as a one person in your group submits a PDF file. Okay, let's go back to the syllabus here. This is on the Brightspace. All the stuff I'm going to give you is on Brightspace. And if I make any changes to the assignments or the order or anything like that, it'll be the syllabus will be updated, and that'll be on Principles website, and I will let you know when that happens on the Brightspace website. So here's my information. That's how you spell my name. My office is in Auburn Science in the Biology Lab in C310. It's unlikely you're going to come to my office this summer. I'm going to have office hours 10 to 11 on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And you'll need my WebEx address, which I'll put right underneath there for the office hours. So there's already a mistake on the syllabus. But how we're going to run in the summer is there's 5 weeks. Each week we will have virtual class Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday we're going to have a test. So for the first week, here are your readings. Here are the sections in the book, and I'll switch to the book for a second so you can see what those look like. And then the test will be on all those chapters. The test will be on Friday. So these podcasts that cover the material through Monday and Thursday, you can do when you want them, but they have to be done before the first test. And the test you have to do at a certain time, which is on Fridays at noon. I think that's what we said here. You'll have a lecture test each Friday, and they will be at noon. I'll put that in the syllabus also, and make sure that there's plenty of reminders about that. That you all have to be there at the same time for that. It'll include multiple choice part, which will take on Brightspace. Though you'll be given a certain amount of time to answer those multiple choice questions. And then once that time has elapsed, you won't be able to go back. They will not be open book, and they will not be group work. So this is something you do on your own on Brightspace. And then there will also be a portion where you have to draw something or write a small essay or something like that. That'll be a part of each test that you're going to submit as a PDF file, and I'll give you more instructions about how to do that. So that's every Friday, okay? So every Friday we have a test, test 1, test 2, test 3. The exception is for test 4, that Friday we don't have class because it's Independence Day, so we will have that test on a Thursday. And then the final exam will be on a Friday, also on the 10th, and that will include the whole course in addition to the material that we covered in the 5th week. Okay, so the normal way things run is you'll have a bunch of podcasts to listen to during the week. You'll have a test on Friday at noon, and then you'll work with your group and do a group assignment that's due Friday at midnight. Okay, so how do you contact me? There's my WebEx address. There it is. So on my office hours, Wednesday, Thursday, 10 to 11, you just click on this address and I'll be there on video camera, and you can talk to me. If these times don't work for you, because you're working or you have some kind of situation, or maybe you're in a different country, you can just email me and suggest a time to meet, and I'll be glad to do that. Email, you want to check your email regularly. I would say check it every day during the week, during this class, because if things change, I need to make a change to the syllabus, some kind of announcement, it'll come by email, where I email the whole class, and you can email me at my last name at uakron.edu. You can also call this number. That's my office number, and it connects to my home phone, so I will get your message. I will tell you that if I don't get back to you within 24 hours, that means I didn't get your email or it got lost. I will always get back to you within 24 hours, unless it's on the weekend. It might take me longer on the weekend. But during the week, I will endeavor to get back to you within 24 hours or less. Okay? In order to take principles, you have to have had Principles Chem 1 before this, and you're going to need some high school level math and science. In order to take Principles 2, which is offered in Summer 2, if you're planning on that, you need to get a C- in Principles 1. So the grading is coming up. Yes, okay. Sorry. The way this course is organized is new this year. We're using, as I mentioned in podcast 1, we're using a new book. I'll go over the book in a second. The idea is that there are principles that cross levels of biological organization, and so the way that traditional intro bio courses are taught are they start very small at the molecular level and end up very big at the biome or planet-wide level. The way this course is taught is more cutting across those levels in every subject that we cover to show you how they're connected, and also to use data in all those different topics so that you get used to using data and that you get familiar with looking at data and evaluating data for yourself, which is super useful, especially in times where people are reading a lot about biology, like during the pandemic. Okay, the textbook. Is the textbook. We started off with the link, which is this link here, to buy the book. Like I said, you're not going to be able to do the exercises unless you get the book, so you're going to have to get the book. Let's give you an idea of what the book looks like here. So it's an electronic book. There's no print copies available. There's a sort of a table of contents on the side, and then you can click the different parts, and then you do your reading over here. I just want to mention this table, which you'll see at the introduction to all the chapters, and all the reading material includes the introduction and the conclusions, even though they're not specifically listed. I want you to read the introduction and conclusions of each of the chapters also. So for example, here's the levels of biological organization that I was talking about. From molecules to cells, organisms, populations, ecosystem. And they'll say that, what we're talking about in this chapter is at the molecule level, and we're going to give you information. We're going to talk about evolution. We'll talk about cells. We'll talk about homeostasis and emergent properties. So these molecules are covered in chapter 1. The evolution of these molecules is covered in chapter 4. How these molecules are involved in cells, covered in chapter 7. How they're involved in homeostasis, chapter 10. And in how they're involved in emergent properties of biological systems, that's chapter 13. So that's a useful thing to come back to get an idea of where are we right now. And then for each chapter, here are the things that are trying to get across. There's also this thing called biomath, and these are extra exercises that are in the each chapter. For each week, I'm picking just one exercise or maybe two for you to do as a group. This is in your group of 4. This is the group of 4 that you're going to get back to me by Tuesday who's in your group, or I will assign you who's in your group. And then you'll go through this biomath exercise and submit it as an answer. Okay? And you can also see the biomath assignments on your syllabus and also under this assignment tab here. So if you see assignments, then you can see when they're due and where are they with a link in the book. Okay? So these aren't terribly long sections. So there's the introductions, essentially just a paragraph, and then 1:1, and then I'd follow that, with 1:2, follow that biomath 1:1, and so on, if that's assigned, okay? And then I can also click to the different sections over here and read, okay, along those sections. There'll be a podcast that goes along with this material that is using and explaining these figures and explaining the material going along with it. So ideally you would want to read this material in the book, listen to the podcast, and then talk to me in office hours or by email about any questions you have, and then you'll be evaluated on this material on a test. Okay? Let's go back to the syllabus here. So the book, that's how you're going to navigate through the book. That's how we're going to use the book. And there's really no getting around having to buy this book. Brightspace, I showed you that. That's on. That's where you're going to get all the individual podcasts, and that's where you're going to turn in your group assignments. That's where you're going to take your test. And that's where you're going to get all your grades. Okay, so how are we going to grade this course. So Principles Biology 1 is a course that includes a lab. It's a 4-credit course. The lab is 1 credit. The lab has a separate syllabus, and you're going to work with Ms. Raymer about what is required for the lab over the summer. You will earn a separate grade in the lab, but when you get your report card at the end, it's going to have 1 grade for the course that includes the lab. And the lab grade will be 25% of your course grade. Within the lecture part, you'll get 40% of your grade from the tests. You'll get 25% of your course grade from the final exam. So the final exam is worth a lot. It's worth as much as lab. You get 5% of your grade from the group work, and then you'll get 5% of your grades from H5P questions. So these are questions in a podcast where it'll stop and ask you a question, multiple choice question. You answer that question, it's automatically graded, and that's to keep you motivated to listen to the podcast. Okay, and that'll account for 5% of your grades. I'll explain more about that H5P in a second. So you're going to take lab, and you'll get a separate syllabus for lab and a separate grade for lab, but it's reported as 1 giant grade for principles. Here, okay. So the grade that you get for principles has to be C- after we figure in the lab. But before we figure in the lab, you have to have a passing grade in both the lab part and the lecture part of the class. That's to prevent people from blowing one or the other off. So you can't do great in lab and blow off lecture. You can't do great in lecture and blow off lab. You have to pass both of them in order to earn an overall grade, and then that overall grade has to be C- or better in order to take Principles 2. Okay? Final exam is on the last class. It's worth 25% of your total grade, and it will include all the material from the semester. Okay? You're going to do group work. As I've mentioned several times, those would be those biomath problems. Those are groups of 4. You're going to get me your group of 4 by Tuesday, or I will assign you a group of 4. Okay. Here are the biomath assignments for weeks 1 through 5. These are the sections in biomath section of your textbook, and you can click on the links in your textbook to find these things. And then there's specific instructions under the assignment tab of your textbook on what I want you to do to answer these biomath sections. H5P. This is normally, if we were face-to-face, we would do clicker questions. That's not going to work for the online section, so I'm doing multiple choice questions within H5P. You don't have to get all those correct. If you get only 85% of the questions correct by the end of the semester, you get all the 5% of the points. Okay, so as long as you make a good attempt and you read the material in the textbook and listen to the podcast, you shouldn't have any problem getting that 85%. A lot of people get really stressed out about these questions, like they missed one here or they missed one there. Almost 90% of the class gets all of these points. Because, like I said, if you just do the reading and you do the podcast, it's very likely you will get all of those points. And you should not blow those off. You think 5% is no big deal, but you're going to want that 5% when it comes to the final exam, which is worth 25%. So, 2 examples of a grade, let's say, and let's figure out what those would be. Let's say the person got 88% in lab, and they got 4 lecture tests where they got an 80, a 60, a 90, and a 70. They got an 80 on their final. They got all their points on group work. They got all their points on clickers. Clickers would be the H5P questions. and then that would add up to, if all these points here added up to 100%, 22%, 30%, 20%, 5, if we add those all up together, that comes out to 82 points out of 100. 82 points out of 100 would be a B minus on this scale. Okay, 82 right here out of 100. That would be a B minus on that scale. Okay, let's say another example where a person did worse in lab, but they did better in everything else. Because they failed lab, they would get an F for the course. So you need to pass both the lecture and the lab separately, but you get 1 grade for the course. And again, that grade has to be a C minus or better in order to take Principles 2. Okay? You can't really be late for this class because it's an online class, except for the Friday exam. Okay, you got to be on time for the Friday exam. Tests will be every Friday from 12 to 1:30. So that means you have to show up at your computer ready to take an exam on Brightspace noon every Friday, and then you'll be done sometime before 1:30. It shouldn't take till 1:30, but you'll have until 1:30. Okay? So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, that you have to be on time for. Okay? So you can do the podcast when you want to, but you have to do the tests in person on Brightspace from 12 to 1:30. Okay? If you are in another part of the world, and this would be a hardship for you to make 12 Eastern Standard Time for a test, let me know about that, and we will work something out for you. Okay? There'll be multiple choice on the test and short essay diagrams. I'll give you one example of a past test. I've been here for over 24 years now. I always give my tests back, so there are a lot of examples of my tests out there. However, it's a brand new book, so I'm going to make new tests. I always make new tests anyway, so I don't, if you have access to old Laundryville tests, I don't suggest that you study them because it's going to be a new test. Okay? If you've got some issues, and I understand issues may come up, and it's a test sort of problem, you got to email me ahead of time and wait for my response for you. You can't, after the fact, say to me, oh yeah, I had internet problems or whatever. Okay? So communication is the issue. I trust students in general, but it's a lot of extra work for me. If you miss a test, I got to make up a new test, and so you have to have an excellent excuse if you're going to miss a test, and I got to know ahead of time. Okay, it's very hard to police online work. It's hard to police face-to-face work. So I'm telling you that we have some measures in place to make sure that you're doing your own work, to make sure that you're not sharing answers during a test. And if we suspect that you have done that, and in that you worked with somebody else on a test, or you're copying somebody else's homework, or you were looking up the answers on the web, then we will launch an investigation. We'll turn it over to Student Judicial Affairs. Okay? Because it's online class doesn't mean you can collaborate in any way on a test or a quiz. Okay? Those are all on your own. The only thing I want you to collaborate on is group work. And certainly you can study together. Okay? But not during a test. If you need to get an incomplete, you're going to let me know ahead of time. You're going to let me know why, and you have to have a passing grade in the class. Okay. There's also some drop withdrawal dates on here. University is pretty strict about these sort of things, so you're going to watch those. And As always, if there are issues, please let me know ahead of time and we'll work them out. The real problems are is when I don't hear from you, and I will be trying to get a hold of you if I don't hear from you. All right, so that's in general how the class is going to work. We're going to have a great semester. We're going to learn a lot, and we're going to keep really good communication with each other so everybody knows what's going on. And I look forward to it.